Sound, Mind, and Body is brought to you in part by Audible. Get a free audiobook download and 30-day free trial at audibletrial.com/inbound. You'll find over 180,000 titles to choose from and to listen to through your iPhone, Android, Kindle, or MP3 player. Support Sound, Mind, and Body by visiting audibletrial.com/inbound.
Hello and welcome to Sound, Mind, and Body, a podcast where we talk about all the different ways to stay healthy, balanced, and well of mind, body, and spirit in today's crazy world with a dash of woo-woo. I'm your host, Sheila Melody, and today's guest is an amazing wellness practitioner that I have had the pleasure of knowing for about 8 or 9 years now. He is known as Dr. M to his patients, and he has developed a very personalized and successful weight loss program, as well as his healing work as a chiropractor. Dr. Christian Middleton, welcome, Dr. M.
Thank you very much. That was a very flattering introduction. Thank you. Appreciate that.
It's funny to hear you self-introduced in a way, right?
Yeah, it's very funny. It's strange.
Well, thank you for taking the time to come to the podcast here. And I'm really looking forward to this conversation because we've known each other for quite a while,
yes.
And you have quite an interesting story. And that brought us to where you are today. So let's start from where you grew up. You're not from the U.S., you're from Norway.
Yes.
So what was it like growing up there?
Have you seen the show The Vikings?
Yes.
No, I'm kidding. It's not like that.
Lagertha.
Yeah, Lagertha. It's well, as a matter of fact, I did grow up very close to some of the master shots they've done in that show. And when you land at the airport outside where I'm from, you'll see these 360-foot swords in the ground.
Really?
Statues as a memory to the last biggest battle that united the country. So yes, that's sort of why, my current company is called Viking Health, because I'm from those neck of the woods.
Yeah.
But on a more, real note, it was a nice place to grow up, Norway.
Yeah.
I think it's the more I look back, it was, you go through the same excitements of slowly being infant, child, teenager, and all those transitions. But I think when I look at, I have a son that's going through that now here. You didn't have so many other distractions. It was pretty streamlined and simple. You really could naturally follow your changes, and you didn't really have much video games, and I wasn't allowed to see that anyway. And there was a naturalness because I grew up in a small community, like 5,000 people, and close to the mountains and nature. So whatever I did, activities after school, my parents never had to parent me, watch the time. I would go there myself, play with the kids in the forest, come home, open doors whenever you want. So there's a certain freedom within that simplicity that I think was really good.
Yeah, it sounds beautiful.
Yeah.
And a lot more of a natural, healthy environment as far as food and health and wellness. Do you think that set you on a great path for that in your life? Sort
of, except had a massive sweet tooth. I could still satisfy that in Norway, but in general, it's even now when I go back to Norway and visit, because my family's still there, and talk to my family, and I asked them if we go grocery shopping, where's the organic produce? And they don't really use that word because it's all organic. Because
it's all organic. Wow.
Like they don't have the big commercial agriculture that we have here, and so it's healthy. They still have their habits, and some of the junk food has been creeping into our society too. But growing up, it's simple. It's very simple food. Fish, potatoes, salt, pepper. There you go. Different varieties of those.
For the most part.
Yeah.
So then, when you were a young man, I'm not exactly sure what age, but you joined a very elite military force, the Norwegian Special Forces, otherwise known as the Viking Special Forces.
Yeah.
So that sounds really intense. And, what was that like?
It was intense. It's kind of interesting because I did it at the time. I actually wanted to be a pilot. So going through the military was one way to become a jet pilot. It changed my mind during the course, though. But to get to that point, you get extra point if you got like officer training or in the special forces. So I did it primarily for that purpose. But yes, it's when you see movies about wars and you see all the discomfort that's often made, they make a little bit of a character out of it, almost like cartoony sometimes, but there is some of that in reality. It's boring, but it's also harsh and weird, and you get tested to your limits. You will have officers that are abusive because this is their life, and they almost live in this mindset that there is a constant war, even though there is no war.
Yeah.
And for a while in this training, we were actually isolated on a castle from the year 1700 during the most intense training, and
wow.
It's testing yourself. It's walking for days with hardly any food, throwing tear gas at you, gripping you, making you exhausted, freezing, trying to still be this leader, sergeant, to take initiative, even though you're apathetic, cold, swollen fingers, haven't eaten. And you're tested. We were outside in temperatures 20 below.
Oh my gosh.
You haven't eaten all of it, and you realize how it's a nice test. You get to see your limits both psychologically and physically, and all of it. Mm-hmm. And you see how much further you can go, because you know how it is. I mean, I'm a really sort of comfort guy. I just got heat in my toilet seat at home, and I just like the comforts of things. So I'm very far from that, but it plays a role. If you're really pushed at some point, you can kind of go back in your mind with the confidence that you can go a lot farther and handle a lot more than even if there's a little discomfort here.
And so how old were you when you were in the Special Forces?
I was 18, 19. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Like my son could never withstand that.
No, it's a mindset. It's a mindset.
Yeah.
It's all a mindset.
So you can survive anything. Even though you have the heated toilet seat right now.
Yeah, you can handle a lot. No, you're right. It gives you have to remind yourself that when you do, it's good.
So you mentioned that while you were in the forces, you started to realize that certain food sources would support you better than maybe other things. Like it became a very, pinpoint focus when you were in survival mode, right? And maybe, that's where you got this depth of understanding about food as support.
Well, yeah, I had a couple of unique experiences. One of these extreme exercises where you hadn't really gotten a chance to sleep much. You've been freezing, you haven't really eaten for a week, and you're wandering about, and you're really weak. And I remember it got a little real one night because one of the soldiers had actually dropped out. It is in the middle of the night, so we couldn't find him. And this is just supposed to be, a civil exercise. No one's supposed to get hurt or die. So we had to go out on an actual search at the time that we're supposed to rest. And in this search, I experienced, because I'm pretty strong-willed, want to keep walking, want to keep going no matter what. I experienced what it was like when your body actually didn't have any energy or nutrition. And I collapsed walking in mid-stride in the mountains, and it was strange experience. And then someone comes and gives me this emergency ratio, which is just really concentrated fat and protein, and experienced within short time, 30 seconds to a minute, that the energy is like you almost got gasoline. It was a bizarre experience. So yes, during that period, I ate like a pig when I could, because a lot of time you couldn't eat, so you had to use your opportunity. But yeah, you try to focus on foods that will give your body that energy it needs.
Wow. That's really, really interesting. I've never met anybody in any special forces. Yeah. So, and then, then in your life, you do what seems like a complete 180, and you became a fashion model in Europe, doing clothing campaigns for Versace and Valentino. Yeah. Now, how in the world did that happen?
I was lost. No. No, I mean, I had been studying philosophy seriously, thinking that's a good basis for wherever I want to go. I didn't know what I want to do, but I was always pretty adventurous. Mm-hmm. I like the unknown. Norway's fantastic and safe, but I knew that for so long, so I was really kind of maybe more than the average, at least of my friends, really needed other things and wanted to break out. And in this period while studying philosophy, I actually worked as a bouncer in Oslo, and you know, help stop drunk people get in, and you worked with a guy that was super excited, and you know, he loved to beat up people. And after I left, he actually killed someone one time. I got to know that. Yeah, you know, just a guy who's got every black belt there is, and this is his full identity. And he you know, it was like, you know, I remember kicking down one guy one time, and I just felt I don't like this job. So around the time, some girls had come to me and said, "Do you want to model?
You're hot. Do you want to model?"
Well, they didn't. They don't talk like that in Norway, right?
Oh, they don't.
Oh, they don't know. But they did. You know, thought of that as a possibility for me, and you know, it's a little conservative there more than here in many ways, and it's not necessarily such a cool thing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's a little effeminate.
Yeah, especially for
a
Viking.
Yeah, it's not like, you know, there's a little more introverted society like that. They don't necessarily like when you are flamboyant anyway. So
yes,
I was tentative about it and kept working and watching drunk people and being kicked out, and then they came back another time and sort of stated, you know, you make a lot more money doing this, you get to travel, and then the keyword travel. I'm like, all right. So slowly I got some pictures done, and little by little, I actually won one of these competitions in Scandinavia, and that sent me down to Paris for some test shooting, and from there on, it just kind of, you know, these agents are connected with other agents in different capitals of Europe, and I started doing that because I didn't have any specific plan for right there. Anyway, I was still thinking to go back to some sort of a professional career within, you know, within health. But at the time, I actually just enjoyed that. And, you know, you're at that age, and you're kind of like, life is going to go on forever. You're invincible, and you just want to explore everything. And this is a fantastic opportunity. I can kind of live this bohemian life and experience. So it was cool. I did it for a while.
And during that time is when you really started to become a diet and wellness expert, right? Because you were like advising all your fellow models, you know, how to stay fit and how to
stay fit. Because it matters. Obviously, your exterior really matters. Your physique, your body, all of it, and
yeah, because they're pretty harsh on people, right?
They're very harsh. I mean,
and now it's a little more, I guess, you know, they're a little more conscious about it. But I'm sure then it was like the be as skinny as you can be, and you know,
not necessarily just skinny, but yeah, you don't want to have body fat. They want you to look cut and trim in the face. They want you to have fake golden tan all the time. All of that, you know, it's not necessarily all great values, but you have to take care of yourself. So in all my time waiting between auditions and castings, yes, I started reading a little more about it, study it, and met a lot of interesting people also, because you're often set up in these apartments with other models from all around the world that also, you know, are looking into bettering their position and be healthier and glow and all of that. So I would discuss with a lot of them and pick up different things, and I'm a little obsessive, so I would study a lot on my own. And I remember there was especially one book called, I believe it's called Fit for Life.
Oh, that is, you know what? Yeah. That's the book I started with as well.
Oh, really?
Right after I had my son, it came out, and I had a little bit of weight to lose. Yeah. And that's how I did it. I still have the first book I have, the Fit for Life book, and I still use some of those recipes.
No, it's awesome. There's no doubt, even today, much later, a lot of that holds up. And just not necessarily mixing all kinds of food groups in one meal. I remember once I started trying it, that I felt better. I felt I had more energy, and the whole thing of you know, starting your day light and don't mix all the proteins, fats, and carbs in a big, don't have a giant Thanksgiving dinner, basically.
Right.
Because you get tired afterwards. So I tried some of this, and then once I felt, wow, this has an effect, I think, you know, I have, when I'm excited about something, I get pretty persuasive also, and I started more or less guiding colleagues, friends to follow me and instruct them on how to do it. And so, yeah, I guess that was like a little seed of what I do today. Yeah.
So ultimately, you decided to pursue a professional career and to go back to school. And it seems like, okay, you came back to where you started with that. And tell us about that journey. What made you finally go, okay, I'm going to get serious. I'm going to go back to school, and I'm going to, you know. Right.
Well, you know, modeling was great for a few years, and it's like, instead of interrailing, I guess, something you get to see things. But then I got to the point like, okay, I've kind of seeing what this scene is about. And I wasn't making millions, so it was kind of like, do I really want to be like this ping pong ball constantly hopping to different places with people I don't know? So yeah, I got ready to move on and create something more solid that I was interested in. And I knew it would be something that has to do with people. And because I like people. That's part of, And so I was considering also to become a psychiatrist.
Oh, really?
Therapist. Or a chiropractor, because I had previously been helped by a really good chiropractor. His methods resonated with me, and I in my chiropractic career, I tried to, mold my practice a little bit after what he did. But yeah, so back and forth, deciding which one, and I chose chiropractic and had to come to the States. I didn't have to, but it was much more attractive than going to England and to be in Los Angeles and get your degree.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, before that, I actually did go to. You actually had to have pre-medicine when you were a foreign student. So I went to Denmark first and studied pre-medicine there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was a big switch from the modeling life.
Yeah, I bet. I bet.
Yeah.
But then, you seem like you're somebody that needs that intellectual stimulation. So it was probably a little more like, okay, I'm with some people here that I can have a conversation with, and.
And also just doing something new. Like I like change.
So when we come back, we're going to talk about another 180 you did once you started practicing as a chiropractor.
Okay.
On the next episode of Sound Mind and Body, we talk to one of the world's best-selling independent online wellness and fitness course creators, Sadie Nardini.
I was in Costa Rica once, and there's this crazy thing they do there where they get these yoga people who are on retreat, like me, to get on a horse and go trotting across a beach. I said I was scared of that huge animal because I'm not, I lived in New York for 20 years. I mean, the most wildlife I saw was a cockroach and a pigeon. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm fierce in some ways, and sometimes I just don't feel comfortable getting on a huge horse for the first time. My horse just suddenly takes off. All of a sudden, halfway down this beach, I thought I was going to die. I thought my spine was going to fly out of my body. I quit trying to not die on this horse, and I just relax. And my body starts going with the rhythm of the animal, and all of a sudden, we're totally in sync. All the jarring disappears. We're running, we're flying down this beach, and I just look down in the wet water on the sand there. I can see this horse flying. I can see me on it. It's beautiful all of a sudden. And I had the thought, I hope when I die, I come back here.
That's next week on Sound Mind and Body.
Hey, it's Tim Edwards with the Inbound Podcasting Network and producer of Sound, Mind, and Body. Just the fact that you're listening to the Sound, Mind, and Body podcast tells us that you enjoy consuming your content through your ears. Now, if you're a podcast listener, you're a perfect fit to enjoy audiobooks. So for you, our listeners, and official members of Sheila's Woo Woo community, Audible is offering you a free audiobook download and a free 30-day trial to check out their awesome service. Look, I'll be honest, I hate reading, always have. I'm a very slow reader, and I don't have the time to just sit down and read a book. So, like you, I've always loved consuming my content through listening. I've been an Audible customer for several years, and as a result, on average, consume about 20 to 25 books a year. In other podcasts the Inbound Podcasting Network produces, we've interviewed authors like Dr. Martin Gibala, who penned The 1 Minute Workout, and Dr. Sylvia Tara, who wrote The Secret Life of Fat. Both are very informative for those who are looking to get in shape and to stay in shape, and both are available with Audible. Give it a shot. You've got nothing to lose. It's absolutely free for 30 days, and you get a free audiobook to keep even if you don't continue with the subscription. Support Sound, Mind, and Body by visiting audibletrial.com/inbound. That's audibletrial.com/inbound. We'll include a link in the show notes, or just click the Audible banner at soundmindbodypodcast.com.
Okay, we're back, and we're talking to Dr. Christian Middleton from Viking Health. So, Christian, we were right at the point before we took the break talking about you had started practicing as a chiropractor in Los Angeles.
Yes.
But with doing that, you did a lot of house calls and you found yourself entrenched in some, entertainment biz people. So tell the story about that.
Well, when I first started out as a chiropractor, I had to work for someone, like an internship, right? Uh-huh. And you don't make a lot of money. It's bare survival, literally. So eventually, I got a little more confident. Some of the patients liked me, and they asked me if I wanted to come to their house and treat them.
Okay.
And, that slowly, from small baby steps, developed into a pretty substantial house call business where I would, come with a table. Then later I get more physical therapy equipment. I had a specific routine I'd go through, full exam, use physical therapy equipment, chiropractic adjustments, all of that, some deep tissue, and spend an hour basically bringing an office to people's homes. And it was very popular. It grew quite quickly without much marketing, and I was treating a lot of. That was an adventurous period. A lot of interesting people, in Hollywood on the West Side. But it became often kind of like an evening thing. That a lot of patients wanted to see me in the evening, really late sometimes.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, I saw a priest at 2 a.m. one time. Yeah.
Are you kidding?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I can't go too much. But yeah, so interesting people. He wanted me to treat him in front of the crucifixion in the altar with the lights burning. Yeah.
This is getting a little.
No, but for real. So there was. I'm just giving you an example. There was interesting situations, but it was often midday night work. And when I first come here, even while I was studying, I'd done a little modeling on the side just to make some extra money. Mm-hmm. And I realized there wasn't so much of that, and I don't remember exactly who and when, but at some point they suggested, why don't you come to this acting class, try this workshop, you can act, blah, blah, blah. So I tried a bit, did a little bit, and then at some point, while I was doing that and working nighttime or mid-daytime as a chiropractor, Hollywood threw me a bone, if you will. I went out for this audition, which seemed so dorky and weird and crazy, but I ended up booking it after multiple auditions, and it was just suddenly I have a star wagon in Hollywood, and it was exciting.
And so, do you want to tell the movie that you were in?
Yeah. Don't hold me responsible for anything that happened in that movie, but it's a funny teenage movie called Dude, Where Is My Car? So it was an interesting couple of months in the summer. For part of the day, I would be dressed in tight leather and sunglasses, and I was this Nordic alien gay dude. And then word got around that I'm also a chiropractor, so I started bringing my table into the Star Wagon. I would have other people, part of the production team, producers, come in and get treatment. So now I was Dr. Middleton. So I kept switching roles throughout the couple of months. So at the time, that was my most lucrative couple of months in my life.
Wow.
Yeah, it was good.
It sounds awesome.
That was funny.
I mean, you just kept saying, yeah, okay, yes, 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 being open-minded.
Yeah, very open-minded.
Meeting all these very interesting people. And then I believe that that's the way you attract your people. What I call my people. These are my people. You figure it out if you're open,
Yeah.
And you ultimately there's some really extraordinary people that are
in this town. Is one of the really cool thing about this town is that obviously diversity of cultures, which comes with the diversity of people from diversity of professions, more than you often find in many other cities. So it's really cool.
Yeah, that's what I love about you. So that's a funny aside, but with let me just explain when I first met you, because you're a very good chiropractor.
Thank you.
And now you have started to get into your specialty is this weight loss program.
Yes.
I just want to explain when I first met you, you were just starting into the weight loss program.
Right.
But my first visit to you, I was referred to by a friend. I came in, filled out the form, and then you sent me up to Ling Ling.
Right.
And she's your massage therapist.
Yeah.
She's this little, is she Vietnamese or Taiwanese?
She is half Thai, half Chinese.
Oh, okay. So her name is Ling Ling. And oh my gosh, it's like you go through this like almost like a torture session. She's a real healer.
Oh,
She is a healer. But it's just like she'll find things that you didn't even know were there, you know? And you go through that whole process. And that's like, whoa. I get out of there, and then I sat down with you and went over my paperwork that I had filled out. And I'm kind of,
discombobulated,
trying to, feel okay, am I okay here? Yeah. And then you're asking me the question, so blah, 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 blah. Oh, so you drink a couple glasses of wine a week? And I'm thinking, oh gosh, he's judging me. I'm being, and I was like, yeah, and sometimes. And you're like, is that all? Is that all you drink? And I was like, oh, well, maybe I drink a little more.
Maybe a little more, yeah.
But anyway, it was just, you were very open and, welcoming. And I felt immediately comfortable with you. And then we went to do your treatment. Right. And you were just, okay, so now I'm going to do some manipulations, and I'm just going to gently break your bones. It's going to be very painful. And I was like, what? And you said, I'm just kidding, and I'm like, okay, thank God, but it was funny from the beginning. And I have to say, because I had this problem when I came to you, it was a sore back muscle that I had been dealing with for 2 weeks. You healed me in that one visit. I was well. The next day it was gone. And I remember being so happy, and I even bought you a bottle of wine, and I was like, thank you so much. It was like the first time I had been to a chiropractor that actually healed me in one session.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. That's what we do at Viking Health. We heal people. It's magic. It's
no, but do.
I mean, in a sense, obviously, there are many factors. There is the science. Mm-hmm. You got to know what you're doing and have an idea of what's going on, and then you use sort of the tools that you have available that can help with that are not invasive, that's using natural methods, which actually applies to both the things I do. As a chiropractor or working with people's diet, it's trying to get people to get as well as possible without medication, without the invasive surgery. Sometimes you have to go to that, but, use that as last resort.
Right.
So it's a lot of education, both about the chiropractic and the eating, and I think just what you brought up, I think that is a little part of what helps make your practice successful, is being able to connect with people, because you're going to get more information when they are relaxed around you, and more information means you can be more specific in how to approach a person, whether it's with their eating habits or their sort of biomechanical muscle health.
Right, that's true. And about 6 years ago, you started to focus more on the weight loss, and that's really mostly what you do now.
Yeah.
You become this weight loss expert.
Yeah, no, it's great. I mean, I we have nutrition and chiropractic training, so I already knew a fair amount about it, the biochemistry, all of it, but didn't really pay attention to it or practice it, or that was sort of, the other people do that, nutritionists. That's not what I'm going to do. But then I had, as a chiropractor, you get approached by a lot of companies wanting to sell supplements and such, and you tend to want to reject them. And then one day someone comes in with these homeopathic drops, and he's very casual about it. He says, these are homeopathic, they're natural, goes with your philosophy of healing people naturally, and along with the proper specific diet protocol, people lose a lot of weight. And I'm like, I'm not really interested in this stuff. But he says, I understand. But just put off this page here that has a little pitch about it, losing so much in so many days without anything artificial, shakes, protein bars, anything. So I put it up there, and most of the time when a patient would ask about it, this was in the reception room, they would ask me, what is this? And I wouldn't really sell it. My answer was, it's some homeopathic stuff. I don't know what it is really.
Right.
But some patient that had been a chiropractic patient for me for a long time came in and read about these drops and this program and insisted on trying it. So he went through it, and I knew he was a really skeptical person. Always wanted to know what's going on and why does it really work. And he also had just like very little to lose. He lost the 15 pounds. Told me he felt great, very little hunger, and so that sparked it. And then I tried it, and I felt, wow, I can actually be on this low calories and feel this good, and I can see the changes. And then ultimately what really turned it around was this woman, a short, really overweight woman from 5'2", 230, 40 pounds. And she came in with high blood pressure, and she was on sort of 3 different kinds of medication, all of them maxed out, and her pressure was still high. And so she was a little afraid of her life. And she asked me, if I lose some weight, will my blood pressure go down? And, at this time I knew a little bit less about the specific stats on that, but I sort of knew that if you lose a lot of weight, like she needed to lose 100 pounds.
Yeah.
I told her probably you'll go down a little bit. I'm not sure. I can't guarantee it. So she does one of these periods, one of these cycles, drops 25 pounds and comes back to me. And she tells me she went to her doctor after she dropped it, and he asked her what she had been doing. She was embarrassed to say she's been dieting, so she said, I've been doing some exercises.
Okay.
And the doctor looks at her and he says, well, you have to do those exercises for the rest of your life, because as of right now, your blood pressure is normal.
Oh my
taking
God.
you off medication. And so she relays this to me in my office and hugs me in tears. And I'm thinking, I have been fixing people's backs for 15 years. I've never gotten this kind of gratitude or had this kind of an effect on someone. She did it, but I got to be part of this journey. And so slowly I found this interesting, and I'm a little obsessive compulsive. So I started researching every aspect of weight loss and got, like you said, got some extra training at the Institute for Integrated Nutrition, and also worked with our common friend, Dr. Kapoor, and we would start working together and see often a little bit of an older population with, blood work and showing why they're on certain kinds of medication, take them through a program and show the improvement and for them to be able to come off. So I learned a fair amount of the lab from that. And slowly it has kind of become my thing. I really like it. I think part of the thing is that I like adventure, I like new. At some point there just is less, but personalities, I like people. When someone sits in front of me, to find a way to
make their life better,
make that for them to go on this journey with me, so they get that self-confidence back, and they realize that it's possible. That we all talk about, well, you can't change. Well, if you really are led long enough that you see the dramatic changes some change can do and the benefits of that, some people do change permanently because they're aware of the benefits. I mean, a lot of often it's getting people through fear that they don't even see it as possible, and they've kind of given up. They want to, but they lack the faith. But then you take them far enough, they go beyond where they thought they could go, and the faith is back. It's very cool, actually, to sit and watch people in front of you over a few months change like that.
That's like your psychology training comes into play there.
It is a little bit of that. It is, I like that aspect of it, to coach people to find, a way that they can see the same benefits I see for them. So
how do they get in touch with you? It's your website?
Yeah, they can go to vikinghealth.net, or we also have Instagram, which is Viking Health, and so they can reach us on either place.
vikinghealth.net, and on there's all about Dr. Middleton. There's all about your services. You can submit for a consultation. You can email you, get in touch with you, or call you.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Great.
Well, I'm about to maybe come back to you.
Okay. Sounds good.
Yeah, like how do you do the maintenance? Let's just talk briefly about that, because once someone loses the weight, and then you also coach them on sustaining that.
Yeah.
Right.
So during the weight loss period, I stress and emphasize education, so people understand what is it about Atkins, Paleo, Primal, Jenny Craig's. What is it that works really? It's not the branding. The body works one way. So I want patients, by the time they're done, to understand the main concepts so that they can take them with them and apply them. Right after you lost weight, you take them through what's called a reset or maintenance period, where you still eat sort of specific, certain amount of calories, still have to pay attention to everything you're doing for a few months, and you're looking for that weight to lock in and remain the same. And then it's kind of like your brain has accepted this as a new weight, and that's the first preventative measure to stop the rebound where you regain all the weight. Then afterwards, we'll do a metabolic test and see what a person's metabolism is, so they have an idea, if they want to test it from time to time, how much they can eat. And then you give them a guidance of give them certain rules. One of the things I explain, if you really overeat one day, whether it's a Thanksgiving or a birthday, you pull back the next day, and you kind of empty out the tank, if you will, that excess that's now been stored in your muscles first. Empty that out before you have more again, because if you have more, and you have more than your muscles can store of energy, then there is this overspill into your fatty tissue, and
Yeah.
Fat's there to protect us for, periods of winter or starving when there is no food to go around. So it's really a good thing. But in our society, we don't really need it because,
right. We're never really in that starvation.
We're not in. So I often tell patients when we're going to do this, I'm going to take you through a little bit of a artificial winter right now. It's not a diet. It's artificial winter.
I like it, an artificial winter. Yeah. That's good. That's good. Well, okay. So now I want to get to know you even a little bit more today. And we're going to... Well, yeah, because you're ultimately extremely interesting. Okay. So let's find out. So for you, I'm assuming you live your life this way. How do you stay of sound mind and body? Like exercise.
You really are assuming I do, huh? Yeah, I mean,
I look it.
Thank you. I do things. I do practice things that I don't know.
Practice what you preach?
Yeah, sort of with food. What I just said. If I've kicked my sugar addictions, what I had most of my life up until these last few years, and it's been a gradual back and forth. But in essence, what's helped me is trying long periods without it. Also, not just experiencing how much better I feel, but learning what it actually does to my body. And I've had I've fallen back a few times, but over these last few years, I've eaten so much food that's non-sugary that it's almost like I've slowly developed a new acquired taste, which makes it a lot easier. Like I don't actually even crave the densest, most calorie-rich, sweetest thing that I used to anymore. So when it can happen to me, I'm obsessive compulsive. I know it can happen to anyone.
Yeah. Well, that's what you even have a little piece in your bio on your website about how you have pulled donuts out of the garbage can.
Oh, yeah. When I was a child, I robbed candy stores. I stole until they stole cameras. So, yeah, I was very addicted.
You were really addicted to sugar, and this is the way that and it took years of knowledge, learning.
Knowledge, work, trying it. It's like with anything. It's possible, but it's hard. It's hard in our society because in our society, you got that stuff added to most things that are available.
That's true.
Yeah.
It's not easy.
Nope.
It's not easy, and you always have to remain vigilant, I think.
It's not easy, but it's worth it.
Yes.
But to answer your question, besides the food thing, I do things that I recommend for everyone. I exercise. Whenever I can. I go at night and play my soccer with a bunch of strangers that has become almost common friends. But just in that aspect of life, it's a great release. And when I can, I do yoga. I try to meditate. And when I do these things, you just feel better because life can get boring and dull and just responsibilities and tired and fatigued and burned out. But you do these things that you just feel better every day going through the same motions.
Right.
So, yeah, to a certain extent, I do take care.
Well, great. Yeah. Okay, so let's go to the other questions. What's a favorite sound of yours?
Sound. I'm fanatic about soccer, European football. So I love it when my team scores and the whole stadium erupts into this roar. It's a fantastic sound.
That's a great sound.
Yeah, it's a very good sound.
That's a great sound. Okay, so favorite memory.
I have a lot of favorite memories. It certainly would have to do with in one of those situations where you're maybe traveling and passionately in love, or when my son was born, things that you're emotionally elated, all of those. One. So the whole thing of me liking to explore and be in a new territory, I do remember specifically first time I think I was 8, we took some cruise ship just to go to the closest country, Denmark. And I remember I got up when I heard that you could see land outside of Norway. I got up on the boat deck and my mom kept chasing me. There was no one else up on the deck. It was like rough weather, but I could see the other country and I was so excited. I'll never forget that. Just it was like, there's that other world, just the excitement of that.
That's like your inner Viking coming out.
I don't know, but it was such a simple thing. But the fact that so long ago, I still remember and I still have an emotional attachment to it.
Oh wow, that's really cool. That's really cool. I can see that. Okay, favorite place.
One of these tropical heavens. I like Costa Rica is fantastic. Tahiti. And India, very fascinating. One of the most fascinating cities I've been to in the world is this sort of holy city called Varanasi, where you find some of the oldest Buddhist temples, very simple, stone structures and Hindu temples. And incredible energy. It's like stepping back in time 3,000 years. You used to have restaurants in there, basic rock restaurants that have been continuously existing for 3,000 years.
Whoa.
And with the holy Ganges River that runs through the city, and the bells and the drums and the rituals and the cremations of the burning and the souls being thrown into the river and the ashes after they've been burned. That's how they bury people, and it's very honorable. And then the little candles floating in the river. I mean, just the whole sense of it's like a vortex of the energy of life in one place.
Wow.
With both mysticism and all of that. Really fantastic experience.
Oh, wow. That is so cool.
Yeah.
Love it. I love that. Okay, so your final question. What's the most woo-woo thing you've ever done?
Woo-woo meaning sort of spiritual,
Woo-woo.
esoteric?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, whatever you want it to mean.
So I'm not super woo-woo, but when I was traveling, when I first was modeling and traveling, I was raised as a Protestant. I had this little, I think it was the New Testament, and thrown into this world with, often older models, more confident worldly models. I was still a little introverted, and there was drugs and parties, and so I would often withdraw from all of that scene and go home and read like a couple of pages from that New Testament, because it made me feel grounded. I was, in a sense, I was in a way. So a little bit of that, knew what that's about, how you're supposed to live. So one time I did, obviously I'm not going to go into one of mine, but one time I tried some hash.
Yeah.
Some French girl had me try some hash, and it was an interesting experience. But I felt so guilty the next day, because the way I was raised, I'd really sinned. And I didn't have Protestant church or anything there. So I remember wandering around the streets in Paris, and I saw this beautiful church, and I figured that's like a holy place. I'm going to go in there, because I'd heard about how you can confess and kind of get rid of your guilt.
Yeah.
And so I go in there and look as an assistant for a priest, where can I confess? And they finally find someone, and he doesn't, but the first guy speaks French, and I didn't speak a word of French.
Oh,
and then
no.
he went, no, we have another one who speaks mostly German.
Okay.
And I knew some German. So the guy sits down with me. I tell him I'd like to confession. And he's like, well, are you a Catholic? Do you believe in the saints and all that? And I'm like, more or less, do you want me to? So he went through a little basic thing, and he told me, you got to believe in this. This is what happens. I'm like, so I agreed to all of these things. It was a little ritual, 5-10 minute thing.
Yeah.
And then I sat down and did this confession to this priest in like broken German, little English, about how I felt bad that I smoked hash. And he told me, he kind of forgave me, had a nice voice. And I walked out of the church feeling sort of relieved. It was nice. Better. It was a nice experience.
That is awesome. That's so unique. I love it.
So
that's so great. Well, Christian, this has been so entertaining and so fun and so informational talking to you. And I highly recommend people checking out your website, vikinghealth.net, right?
Yes.
vikinghealth.net. And check out, if you're in the LA area, definitely contact Dr. Middleton and see what he can do for you. Thank you again for all the time you spent with us, and hopefully we can have you back again.
Sounds good.
Well, that's it for this episode. Wow, what an interesting person Dr. M is. Be sure to check out his website, vikinghealth.net. And how do you stay of sound mind and body in your life? Are you applying any of these principles? Are you eating well? Are you exercising? Are you meditating? Let us know. Send us a voice memo or email us to podcast@soundmindbodypodcast.com. And thank you so much for listening. And please subscribe if you haven't already. And if you like the podcast, please give us a review. We love to read your reviews, and it really helps new listeners find us. I want to thank our producer, Tim Edwards, and the Inbound Podcasting Network. I want to thank our guest today, Dr. Christian Middleton. And get in touch. I'm on Instagram. I have a new Instagram that's Sound Mind Body Podcast. And also Shishi Melody, but let's go with the Sound Mind Body Podcast one. And I'm on Twitter @SheilaMelody1. Or find us on Facebook or the web. Search for Sound Mind Body Podcast. I'm Sheila Melody. Join us next week as we explore, enlighten, and evolve.